Hey guys, it's Gina here. I want to go ahead and do this quick video. I want to go ahead and read to you guys chapter 3 of God Will Make a Way. I'm not feeling the best this morning, so I feel the need to read a little bit of positivity, and hopefully this will, change my mood and my way of thinking. Just, a little reality here for you. Not every day is a good day, and sometimes we need to reach out and you know, try to think positive, try to reach out for something that's positive so it can bring us up some way or somehow. So hopefully you guys enjoy this chapter. Hopefully it'll help me out too. This is one of the reasons why I'm uploading. I doing it really for me and for my sanity, but also if it can help any one of you guys, then that's awesome and that's great. So hopefully you guys enjoy this chapter and hopefully we can learn something from it. So let's go ahead and start. It's place high value on wisdom. Jan's husband found her in the garage, slumped on the floor with a bottle of pills in her hand. He knew she'd been depressed, but he had no idea that it was this bad. Nor did anyone else in her life. Jan was a very accomplished woman who had a lot of friends. No one would have guessed she was suicidal unless she had told them, and she was not about to tell anyone. Depression was one thing, suicidal hopelessness was another. How can I tell anyone that I've sunk down so far? She reasoned. What would they think? And past that, what could they do to help me anyway? She felt as if she'd tried everything that she had always been taught to do to deal with life. Hadn't she read all the right books and listened to all the right sermons and teachers? Wasn't she well educated? As for talking to anyone about this, she'd been to counseling once years ago, and it had not been helpful. And if a counselor could not help, what could a friend do? Besides, she did not want to burden any of her friends with her problems. It seemed that the pills were the only answer. Thankfully, her husband intervened and took her to the hospital. I, Henry, interviewed her and was saddened by how low Jan was feeling. I have no hope at all, she told me, with a blank stare. None. And I know nothing will ever change for me. I'm just stuck down here in this depression and no one gets it. Jan was voicing the way deep depression is by its nature. There's no hope. I'm so mad he found me, she went on. It could have all been over by now. By this, I knew she was still intent on dying. What stood out to me, though, was the amount of certainty she had that things would never change and that she'd never feel any better. As I talked with her, I was amazed at how far apart our perspectives were. She had no hope, but I was filled with hope for her. She was certain that the only way for things to get better was to die, while I was certain that she would get well. When I told Jan I could see her getting well, she looked at me as if I were an alien, undaunted. I saw there would certainly be difficulties in the process and that recovery would not be easy. Yet, I affirmed she was not beyond hope. Even though she felt the way I assured her I knew from experience and training what was causing her depression and what to do about it. Just from the little I've learned about you in this short time, I said, I know you can do it, but she was not ready to believe my assurance. I don't want to be in the hospital, was all she could say. Yes, I know, I said, but you are, and we need to keep you here until you feel better. She said, no, I don't want to stay here, she protested, much more adamantly. I will never feel better, so just let me go. And then he says, sorry, I can't let you go. I refused. But I do believe you will get better. I know that you can't see that right now from your perspective at the moment. There is no way out. In that sense, you're right. But from my perspective, given what I know, there is a way. You just can't see it. So I continued, you'll just have to hang with us and see for yourself. As is the case with truly suicidal people, my encouragement didn't have any effect. And her answer was what I expected. Dully, she responded, I don't have much choice, do I? You guys have locked me up, so I guess we'll just see. And the next part is wisdom makes the difference. Years of clinical experience have taught me something very valuable about life and how God makes a way. What I learned came through a scenario that repeated itself and went like this. Someone who checked into the hospital or came to see me for counseling would be totally without hope. Actually, that's an understatement given some situations I have seen. Whether they were struggling with a marriage, disaster, an addiction, a difficult child, the end of a career, or a long term depression, I have met many people who truly believed there was absolutely nothing that could make their situation better. Their subjective experience told them they were at rock bottom with no hope of things changing. But my experience has taught me to see things differently. What I can see is this: while many people feel there is no hope, I can feel with total certainty that what they are experiencing will be resolved. One person is certain that it's all over. Another is certain that the victory is guaranteed. What's the difference? In one word, wisdom. Don't get me wrong, I'm not claiming to be a wise man or to have special intelligence, far from it. But if wisdom is skill and knowledge applied to living, then I do know some principles of wisdom by which people can resolve seemingly insoluble problems. It just comes from years of experience in treating hurting and hopeless people, seeing what works, and benefiting from experienced teachers. The point that I am making is this: when we possess the wisdom needed for a particular situation, we gain hope and even certainty from the resolution of the problem. I knew that a person was going to get well if he or she did the right things. And the reason that I knew was that there were true and tested principle of God's ways that would make them better. Take depression as an example. I knew that if someone worked on the proven dynamics that cause depression, the depression would be healed. For example, if your heart is isolated and you learn how to connect with others, the depression that comes from emotional detachment goes away. Or if you're depressed because you feel powerless and you learn how to stop being manipulated, the depression leaves. Likewise, if depression is the result of unresolved grief or hurt and you resolve that pain, the depression gradually vanishes. If depression stems from a biochemical problem and you take the right medicine, you will get well, and on, depending on whatsoever the dynamics are. But one thing was sure: if the depression was something that I had seen resolved before, and there were tested treatments that I knew worked, I had hope from the wisdom that good teachers had passed on to me. I knew that the person would get well. My point is actually the same one that God makes in the book of Proverbs when he says that hope comes from wisdom. Know also that wisdom is sweet to your soul. If you find it, there is a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off. That's in Proverbs chapter 24, verse 14. Many times we feel hopeless because we do not know what to do next. When we add to that the sense that maybe nothing can be done, things do indeed seem hopeless. And the way we look at things creates the way we feel about things. But the reality is that God has no limit when it comes to solutions. He can and will make a way. Sometimes, as He tells us, the path to that way is helping us to gain wisdom as it applies to our situation. Proverbs is a wonderful book of the Bible, and it gives you a and it's one of my favorites actually, just to mention that. um, and it gives us a clear look at the how much God values wisdom. Here are some wise insights you will want to firmly hold on to in various difficult situations. If you're struggling with difficult or hurtful people, wisdom will save you from the ways of wicked men, from men whose words are perverse. That's in Proverbs chapter 2, verse 12. If you're wondering whether it's worth the effort to seek out answers to your problems, wisdom is supreme. Therefore, get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. And that's in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7. If you're wondering about the best things that you could do to take care of yourself, he who gets wisdom loves his own soul. He who cherishes understanding prospers. That's in Proverbs chapter 19, verse 8. Over and over, and these are just a few of the many examples, the Bible tells us that one path God uses to make a way is to give us wisdom. Our task is to find out what we do not know about what we are going through and what will help. So here are a few things to remember about the process of gaining wisdom. And then we're going to go on to the next section, which is wisdom and truth come from God. The first place we need to look for wisdom is directly from God Himself. When we're in trouble or faced with a situation in which we do not know what to do, we can ask God. He will give us the wisdom we need. Consider this truth from the New Testament. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lack wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. That's in James chapter 1, verses 2 through 5. In every tough situation, the first thing we need to do is ask God. Recently, I was talking to a woman who was going through a divorce after 30 years of marriage. She said this: "It's been horrible, but I've learned something incredible. Each day, with each new situation, from wrangling our finances to custody of the children, I would find totally not knowing what to do. But when I'd ask God, He would always tell me somehow, one way or another, the answer I needed would come. I've learned that He will tell us what we need at the point we need it. Also, I've learned that He does not seem to tell us ahead of time, but just in time. As this woman had learned so well, God will give us the wisdom we need if we ask Him for it." And the next part is God uses the wisdom of others. There are many situations you and I do not know how to handle. Some are serious situations in which big things are at stake. But the reality is someone knows how to resolve out problems. Our job is to find that someone. First, we should pray and ask God to help us in our search. Second, we should actively seek those who have experience in whatever it is we're struggling with. I have a friend in my life whom I call whenever I have a financial difficulty. He has wisdom when it comes to money matters, and so I lean to him for help in that area. The fact is, we do not have all the answers, and others often do. Learn to seek out friends who have the understanding you need. Next part is seek structured wisdom. At times, a phone call to a friend will not give us the wisdom we need. We need help from a more formal source. By formal, I mean someone who is skilled in the form of help we need. Dealing with a clinical depression is a good example. Clinical depression is serious and most often requires someone with psychological training to help. Often, John and I get calls on our radio program from those whose loved ones are caught up in an addiction. They've tried to deal with it themselves or by talking by talking a few times with a counselor and nothing's working. We get so frustrated when we hear that. We find ourselves almost screaming at them to get with a specific counselor who has dealt with hundreds of alcoholics or sex addicts. Most counselors without the experience do not know what to do with an addict. The help that addicts need almost always has to come from a structured substance abuse program. The areas in which we struggle have usually been addressed, and there is some sort of formal help available if we look. There are grief programs, divorce recovery programs, groups, financial debt relief counselors, um, resume writing courses, job interview coaches, and on and on. There is no need for you to reinvent the wheel. It's sad to me when I see people staying stuck and not seeking wisdom and help when it's so widely available. And today, cost does not have to be an obstacle because there are many fine programs available through churches and government agencies. Recently, I was leading a seminar and talking about our need to get active in seeking God's purpose and dreams for us, dreams that come from God. I explained are never based in wrong or selfish motives. Only if they're based in good motives are they truly God's dreams for us. And in that case, we can count on Him to make a way for them to come to fruit, fruition. That's in James chapter 4, verse 2 through 3. So I said, if a dream truly comes from God through our heart, He will make a way for it to be realized. A woman asked, what if you have a dream and there is no money to realize it, and God has not provided it? What's your dream? I asked. I want to go back to school and become a musician, but I can't afford it, and God is not providing the money. How many granting agencies have you applied to? I probed. How many scholarships have you sought? How many people have heard you sing and minister with this gift? Have you asked to support you in reaching this dream? She blinked. None. You see, she had just assumed that the money was not there, and she assumed because she had prayed a few times and cash did not show up miraculously that God was not providing. I was suggesting that God does provide sometimes through formal structural scholarships and through financial aid counselors who could help her get what she needed. I then told her, go and seek that kind of help from the people who know how to get grants. Apply to a zillion places. If you've done that and still get no help, then you can say God has not provided and the door to the dream is closed. But not until then. Remember, God tells us to seek wisdom and ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks, the door will be opened. That's in Matthew chapter 7, verse 7 through 8. For years, we have interviewed and hired psychologists and psychiatrists and counselors. All of them had formal education, but there was a noticeable difference in the candidates whom we really wanted. They had gone way past their education to seek wisdom from experienced people in structured places other than schools. They had attended continuing education seminars, read books, listened to tapes, and participated in workshops. So it was no accident that they were so far ahead of the pack from the others who did not do those things. The same thing is true of the people we counsel. The ones who do the best are the ones who go beyond to help. We provide and seek out structured learning and wisdom gaining experiences. They go to groups, workshop, watch videos on growth and relationships, and listen to teaching tapes. The wisdom that you need for your situation is available if you seek it. Here are some sources: pastors, churches equipped with programs for many different needs, community colleges, seminars, books and tapes, workshops, retreats, professionals, seek help groups. The next part is test the voices of wisdom. As we seek wisdom, it's important to be sure the people who offer wise counsel know what they're talking about. There is a lot of wisdom for sale out there. Actually, the Bible says we should make it a goal to get wisdom, even though the cost might be high. That's in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7. But you can also waste your money buying wisdom and experiences that are worthless. To draw an example from a different venue, how many people do you know who have actually gotten flat, rippled abdominal muscles from an ab machine that costs only $69.95 and does the work for you? None, right? On the other hand, how many people do you know who are in shape because they work out regularly? Do you really know anyone who has gotten rich by buying some get rich program from television? However, chances are that you do know people who have coached by experienced people in finance or learned a career skill and became financially grounded. Do not believe every so-called expert or put your trust in quick answer solutions. Check the track record. Get a good referral from someone who is familiar with the counselor's work. Talk to a pastor who sends people to various counselors. Ask your friends, your doctor, or some other trusted person for a knowledgeable referral. Make sure that you are not being sold a bill of goods that has no value but one that has a history of good results. Remember, just because someone says that he or she is an expert does not make it so. The next part, not a random universe. God has put you in a universe that has order. There are principles that govern relationships, work, the way you feel, and the like. Things work or don't work because of laws that have been in place since God first created everything. And speaking on the matter of wisdom, the Bible says this: by wisdom, the Lord laid the earth's foundations. By understanding, he set the heavens in place. By his knowledge, the deeps were the deeps were divided, and the clouds let drop the dew. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 19 through 20. Part of the way God has laid out for you through your dilemma has probably already been made. It's quite likely all laid out for you already. Your job is to find that way by seeking the wisdom that applies to your troubled situation. One thing is sure, we can depend on God's way to work. So ask him for help. Seek wisdom with all your strength, and then when you find it, apply it with all that you are. And that is the end of chapter 3. When I started reading this book, I think you guys could tell I was not as jippery as I normally am. And as I was reading, I was just like thinking about my problems. And now that I come to the end of the chapter, I kind of have a little bit, I feel better. I feel a lot better, guys. I think that it's true. I think that in our troubles, we do need to seek help, and we can actually reach out to a friend or somebody who can hear us out through some problems. Medication's not always the best way, but if you can find any church programs or any friends that will hear you out, or people that are people who can help you in some way or somehow with the problem you're having, whether that be financial, we'll figure out who you know that might be able to help you with that. Somebody who you know is, pretty good or well off. Maybe they can give you some pointers, or people that, if you're having a relationship problem, seek out people who are positive, people who are like married couples that have been together for a long time, who strive to make their relationship better. If you are a single, mother and are struggling, associate with yourself with people who can help you, people who are positive, people who maybe have gone through the same thing you have, but now they're doing much better, and they figured out how to make ends meet, and how to maybe they can also help you with childcare or stuff like that. um, there's just a lot of help that I know that we can get out there. And sometimes we try to close ourselves off. I know I'm one of those that closes myself off and just, relies on, you know, my husband or, um, I try not to really bring out my stuff with people, just randomly. I just choose people who I know that I can really count on. And sometimes we hear things that we might not want to hear. Maybe sometimes it's something that we're doing, but maybe we need to fix. But that's why you really need to make sure that you know who you're talking to, somebody who's going to tell you the truth. They're not going to just tell you what you want to hear. Um, People who have your best interest. So, yeah, I think I've learned a lot from this chapter. I think it really helped me out. Hopefully, it helped you guys out in some way or somehow. There is always help out there, and there's always a way out of, a situation. And if all else fails, then kneel down and pray to your Heavenly Father and ask Him to help you in the situation. And I'm sure He'll open a door for you and will help you in some way or somehow. If nothing else, guys, I know for a fact that God is always there for us. I know He's always been there for me. He's always helped me through every single trial that I've had. And I think that sometimes we just forget and we think that we can just handle the situation on our own. But in reality, sometimes we do need help. And who else to help us but the person who loves us the most, which is God, our Heavenly Father, and Jesus Christ. And yeah, I want to go ahead and leave you guys with that. Hopefully, this helped you. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed reading this chapter with me. And yeah, I think that's it. I will be reading some other books. I feel like I really, really need it today. I feel like I'm a little down. I was really happy today because today was my daughter's birthday. She turned 6 years old today. And I was happy. And then I made a phone call and then I don't know, it kind of just bummed me out. But I'm not going to let that ruin my day. I'm going to go ahead and make it a good day. It is my daughter's birthday and I'm not going to let that get me down. So, yeah, I'm going to read a little bit more just to, because I feel like I really need it. And yeah. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and I will see you on my next video, and bye guys. Hopefully you guys have a great day.